Ladies and gentlemen, federal employees, welcome to this week's video. It is so good to have you. And if you are new here, you are in a great spot. If you're a federal employee trying to get the most out of your retirement, maximize your benefits, welcome aboard. It is great to have you. And today we're going to be talking about how in the world do you pick the best investments for your retirement so that you get the most out of your money? Because your investments is a massive, critical piece to planning and being prepared for retirement. Now, I've done lots and lots of videos about investing in the TSP and the funds that are going to do the best over time and the different strategies. So if you want a strategy for your TSP, definitely check out those videos. But today, I know many of you, as you approach retirement, or maybe already, you have an IRA, you have a brokerage account, you have money outside the TSP, and you wonder, okay, how do I find funds? Or a very common situation is your spouse is working, but she's not a federal employee. She has a 401k or he has a 401k. And how in the world do you find the best investments over there, right? Because I see all the time where one spouse is a federal employee, they have the TSP, so they know and they invest well there, but their spouse has a 401k, it's more complicated. So they're leaving tons of money on the table and they really don't have a strategy to make sure those accounts are invested well as well. So today's video is really going to focus on how do we find the best funds when we're talking outside the TSP. Maybe when you retire, you want to move to an IRA, or again, your spouse has a 401k. How do you find the best funds and the best things to invest in if you're outside the TSP? Because for most of you, at least at some point, you're going to be outside the TSP or have something in conjunction with your TSP. So let's dive in. There's really three main things that you want to make sure are in place no matter where you're investing. Now, the TSP has an advantage because there's only a few options, right? Now, I'm not talking about the mutual fund window, which is now available. That has thousands of options, which you should ignore them all, okay? If you haven't seen any of my videos on that, the mutual fund window is a great way to pay high fees and really not get any extra value, in my opinion, depending on what you're investing in. But again, you're better off in the core funds because they do a great job at getting the most bang for your buck. So, okay, now outside the TSP, what are we talking about? Number one, the criteria that is crucial to have when investing in anything is liquidity. And what the heck does liquidity mean, okay? It doesn't mean you're investing in liquids, right? It means that you want to invest in something that you can get out of very quickly if you want to. For example, if you go and invest in an ETF or just a stock, you can sell it tomorrow because someone probably wants to buy it from you. And you don't want to buy things that people aren't trading a lot, right? And how does that come into play? Well, one common example of something that doesn't really have a lot of liquidity often is an annuity. Okay, I've talked about annuities before. If you've been here a while, you know my stance is for U.S. federal employees, annuities rarely make sense. And let's do a recap. If you don't know, an annuity is where you take a chunk of your change, you go to an insurance company and say, hey, I want you to guarantee a certain amount of growth so I can't lose money, etc. Well, they'll do it, but they'll just take away your liquidity. They'll take away when and how you can access your money and to make changes later. And one of the most crucial parts about picking investments is liquidity. You want to make sure you can get in and out of it quickly because things change. The biggest thing in retirement is you want flexibility. So as the world changes, as the laws changes, as your life changes, as the needs change, you can change your money too. If you lock yourself down into something, into some sort of investment, you are in trouble. That you're probably going to lose a lot of money in the meantime because you get stuck or maybe you have to pay fees or whatever it is. You want liquidity. You want to be able to get out of it. No questions asked. Okay, that's number one. Number two, when you're picking investments, you want diversification. I see this all the time where someone has a favorite company, whether it's Tesla or Amazon or whatever it is, they have this company, or Apple. They have a company they love and they're a super fan of, or maybe their grandpa owned the stock and they passed it on, or whatever it is. For whatever reason, there's an emotional connection there. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea to ever have an emotional connection to stocks. However, when how much money we have in one company gets too large as a percentage of your entire retirement savings, that's an issue. Because I don't care how good the company is today. I don't care how successful, how well managed, how well funded, all these things. I don't care. At any point, a lawsuit or an issue or just change over time, no one company is safe over time. And I want to make sure that your retirement is safe over time. And I assume that's what you want as well. So you want diversification. You want to not put all your eggs in one basket. You want to spread it out. So I'm going to invest in hundreds of companies in the TSP that's built in for you, right? The C fund is 500 companies. The S fund is even more. It's lots of companies grouped into these things. So as you're finding investments, make sure it's well diversified and you're not just in one single thing or one certain industry. You want to spread your money out so over time you get the benefits of lots of different companies and all your eggs are not in one basket. That's huge, especially if you have different buckets. Let's say your TSP, your spouse's 401k, whatever it is. You want to look at all the investments you have in all the baskets and make sure it's all balanced between everything. So keep that in mind. Okay, lastly, and certainly not leastly, is fees. What fees are you paying for your investments, right? So let me make something super clear. I'm not opposed to fees. I pay a lot of money, especially in my business and in my personal life, for things all the time that are so worth it, that I pay a lot of money for. But they are so worth it. The value far exceeds what you get. And when we're talking about investments, that's what we have to talk about. What do you get for the money you pay? In the TSP, the fees are relatively low. Outside the TSP, you can find funds that are just as low, if not even lower. They exist. However, the difference is outside the TSP is that you have to wade through thousands of funds where some of them are higher fee. So you have to watch that and keep that in mind. So for example, if your goal is to invest in the S&P 500, well, that's the 500 biggest companies in the US. Awesome. The C fund is the S&P 500. Perfect. How much of a fee do you pay for that? And look, okay, what about my wife's 401k? Can I find a fund that does the same thing? And what is the fee? Especially if you're in an IRA where you have lots of options. If you want to invest in, let's say, the S&P 500, well, you can find all the funds that do that and find the fund that has one of the lowest fees. You get the same product for a lower fee. If you can do that, awesome, right? And obviously, there's lots of other things that you may want to invest in. Find the product you want and find the one with the lowest fees, because every dollar that you don't pay in fees, you keep in your pocket. You keep for your retirement, and that is the goal when it comes to taxes or investing or anything, is keep it as much money in your pocket so that you can enjoy retirement, because it's your money. You want to enjoy it. You don't want to just give it off in fees or taxes or anything else. You want to keep as much as you possibly can for you, and looking at the fees is one of the best ways to do that. So those are some of the three criteria. There's certainly others when it comes to investing, but those are huge. And I wanted to give you that perspective as you're investing outside the TSP, as you're making these decisions. You want to watch out for those three, especially, and the results you get will certainly be better as you make these improvements over time. So I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, comments, please put in the comments below. And there's a ton of different references and resources in the description below for things like a free copy of my TSP book or tons of things that will help you in your retirement. So definitely check those out. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon.